Let me now turn, perhaps in the first set of comments, to a part of our world of industry that has a particular interest and knowledge on this issue of carbon pricing. I would like to turn to Bob Dudley, CEO of BP, to perhaps offer a couple of remarks on this notion of that price level, that carbon pricing notion. And again, I would like to remind us all that we try and keep our remarks to 2 to 3 minutes maximum. Bob.
Thank you very much, Achim, and thank you, Lisa, for involving us today. Someone asked me yesterday very sincerely, why should representatives of the global oil and gas industry even be allowed to participate at any COP event? It made me very thoughtful. There are a number of companies here today who are part of a group who came together early this year to form the Oil and Gas Climate Initiative, OGCI. It's an organization made up of 10 global oil companies that want to contribute to climate change actions, and we welcome the move to greater clarity about the future price and pace and direction of climate change policy, and we've all got a sense of urgency. The oil and gas sector is an important part of any sustainable attempt to tackle climate change, and our members produce about 1/10 of the world's energy, so we are placed to help address these important questions that you've given us, systematically reducing energy-related emissions, while also meeting rising energy demand around the world. And I think we can better achieve those objectives with a comprehensive, stable climate policy frameworks, which can include carbon pricing. Our companies are very active in developing practical solutions. We've reduced our own carbon footprints by 20% since 2005. We obviously know that's not good enough, and many of our members are pioneers of carbon capture and storage, or CCS technology, and some of the largest global players in solar, wind, and biofuels. And we're working to ensure that we can also benefit, and I think it must be climate change, of shifting high-emission fuels to electric power, to natural gas, by driving initiatives that also include capturing methane and reducing that. There's still 1 billion people in the world that don't have access to electric power. Specifically on your question of carbon pricing, I'm going to answer from a group of companies in Europe who have signed our support of carbon pricing. Setting the price is difficult. Private targets and timetables for reducing greenhouse emissions are a matter really for governments to decide. They need to take account of the science, the need for climate action. For a carbon tax or price, this means setting the level and the trajectory of the tax over time. For a trading system, this will mean setting the level of emissions cap and pace at which it tightens over time. I think governments should consider, and again, this is speaking from a group of companies, colleagues who are here from Europe, should set the level of carbon cap or tax to allow the market then to deliver environmental outcomes at the lowest cost, and I think with minimal interference from governments to affect the price, which will pick winners by favoring certain technologies. Because the technologies are still evolving, and there's going to be more to evolve. I think that supporting national carbon prices and an international agreement that can converge over time towards a global carbon price or a comparable global effort, we recognize that different nations approach it differently, and there are practical differences between the countries. So again, as a group of European companies, we're in favor of negotiating language that promotes the use of international market transfers, because this will encourage linking between national pricing systems. We would discourage language or conditions that rule out the linkages. And until there's at least an approximate equivalence between different carbon pricing impacts, there's a risk of unintended consequences unless appropriate protection is given to the domestic sectors or installations that are energy intensive and exposed to unequal international competition. Something to think about. There's a lot of work to be done in shaping a really effective carbon pricing policy. There's a lot of work going on today. It's good to see the Carbon Pricing Leadership Coalition being launched here this week by Secretary General and the President of the World Bank. Coalition brings together many governments and companies to collectively evidence and access, experience, and inform on carbon pricing, which is absolutely essential. Again, we have a large group of companies, this OGCI effort, which is absolutely determined to move beyond, in some ways, existing core businesses to accelerate our efforts on climate change. And again, renewable CCS, these are not just research and development projects. There's billions of dollars of investment in real operations going on in our companies. So thank you very much for a chance to comment, Achim.
Thank you very much. Bob, without in any way pressing you on revealing state secrets, is there a range of a carbon price that in your inner chambers of strategic planning and outlook is emerging, or it is just all over the place at the moment?
I think it depends on national policies where the price is. It's important to get a global playing field here. We assume a certain carbon price. It's not a state secret, I guess, but $40 per ton right now in all of our investment decisions. We've applied it for quite a while now. It does alter some of our investments. But I've seen ranges of 25 to 50, 50 to 100, or more than 100. More than 100 today, unless it's global, would have unintended consequences, I think. So I think this is something that builds up over time and tightens in time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's very helpful.